Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're tackling something pretty cool, desire. We're going to deconstruct how you build that tension, that attraction on screen. So let's just start with a really core question for anyone who tells stories, right? How do you actually show that electric feeling, that chemistry, that undeniable pull between two people without them just saying it? How do you do it with just visuals, with sound, with pure atmosphere? To figure that out, we're going to be using this short script called The Rain in the Room as our guide. And trust me, it's a perfect case study for building that kind of mood, that intimacy where every single moment, every word, well, it counts.
Okay, so here's the plan. We're going to break this thing down scene by scene. Then we'll pull out all the key techniques and put them into a kind of storyteller's toolkit for you. Sound good? All right, let's get into it.
All right, first up, setting the scene. We start in a hotel bar, and right away, you know the mood is just everything. It's the foundation for the entire story.
Right off the bat, the script just pulls you in with all these sensory details. You can almost hear that smooth, bass-heavy jazz. You can see the low amber light. You can feel the rain hammering against the window. It creates this little bubble, a world of intimacy and possibility, and nobody's even said a word yet.
And then, when they do finally speak, wow. You have to notice how this dialogue is just dripping with subtext from the absolute first line. This is so not small talk. It's more like a verbal chess match.
I mean, listen to Lena's opening line. It is so provocative, right? On the surface, it's an observation, sure. But really, it's a total invitation. She's not asking him a question. She's basically telling him, I'm the trouble you've been waiting for.
And Alex's reply? He just volleys it right back. He accepts the challenge, no hesitation. It's this perfect 1-2 punch of dialogue that just, boom, instantly creates this magnetic, high-stakes connection. You just know, right then and there, the game is on.
Okay, so the spark has definitely been lit. Now let's look at how the script fans that spark into a full-on flame. They change location, and believe me, the tension just gets cranked way, way up.
This is just a masterclass in subtext. The on-screen actions are tiny, almost nothing. He loosens his tie, their hands brush for a second too long, but these small things, they are absolutely screaming desire. That elevator, it becomes this pressure cooker. There's nowhere to go, and they're just trapped in there with all this unspoken attraction. And listen to how the dialogue changes. It gets short, clipped, almost breathless. And that's such a brilliant tell, isn't it? The physical tension is so high now, there's just no room in their heads for complicated sentences. Everything becomes primal, direct, and super urgent.
You have to see the deliberate escalation here, how the writer is just turning the heat up step by step. It's a clear path. First, you have the unspoken tension in that elevator. Then, that little jolt of physical contact in the hall. And finally, they're at the door. That's the point of no return. Each step just raises the stakes and pulls them deeper in.
And this exchange right here, it's just brilliant. This is that final moment, the last chance to back out. It's the classic point of no return. Alex kind of gives her an out, right? He says, tell me to leave. But Lena? Nope. She slams that door shut. Both of them are choosing this. They're all in.
Okay, so you've built all this incredible tension. It has to go somewhere, right? It has to break. And the script gives us this incredibly powerful payoff that's way less about dialogue and all about feeling. It's a purely sensory experience. So instead of just another linear scene with more talking, the script does something really smart. It calls for a montage, just these quick, intimate, high-contrast shots. A jacket falling, hands in hair, you get the idea. And that choice is fantastic because it shifts our focus completely. We're not following a plot anymore, we are just feeling this moment. And then when the words finally do come back, they act like a perfect emotional release valve. It's just a confirmation of everything we've been feeling right along with them. It's not giving us any new information, really. It's more like, a collective exhale. Okay, so we've seen all these techniques in action. Now let's kind of zoom out and put some names to these tools. What did the writer and director actually use to create such a powerful effect? Okay, first up is a lighting style called chiaroscuro. Now, that's a bit of a fancy art term, but all it really means is using strong contrast between light and dark. And it's so effective because it's not just about making things dark, it's about what the shadows hide, and more importantly, what the light reveals. It forces our eyes to focus on these super intimate details, like a silhouette against a window. So this really breaks down the whole toolkit into 3 core things. First, you've got the lighting, that chiaroscuro we just talked about, to create mystery and intimacy. Then you have sound.
And we're not talking about music here, but amplifying tiny details, like a sharp intake of breath or the rustle of fabric. It creates this intense sensory intimacy, kind of like an ASMR effect. And finally, there's pacing. Starting slow, speeding up, then slowing down again, it's all about controlling the audience's heartbeat.
So if there's one big takeaway from all this, it's the old rule, show, don't tell. The most powerful, intense feelings are almost never communicated by what people say. They're shown. They're heard in the little sounds. They're felt. The real story here is happening in all that silence between the words.
The script leaves us with this final, really poetic thought. And so I'm going to leave you with that same challenge. Passion is a storm, so what story will you tell? Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.